Hey everybody, this is KennedyHawk from the Marvel Champions Monthly Podcast crew. I'm going to do another heroic primer where I'm going to look at Iron Man's signature set and what aspect cards pair well with Iron Man. So let's overview Tony Stark Iron Man. Iron Man has some built-in ramp with his futurist ability. He can discard 3 cards or look at 3 cards on the top of his deck, add 1 to his hand, discard the others. Really good. His other side's pretty interesting. He's got a hand size of 1, plus 1 for each tech upgrade you control. So we're going to look a lot for tech upgrades. I like to play Iron Man super thematically, so I put my cards out on his mat where they belong. Gloves on gloves, helmet on helmet, chest pieces and boots. Lots of cool things he's got going on. He's got 2 gloves that deal 1 damage or 2 damage if you have aerial. They're attacks, so they'll count for things when you're attacking minions. He's got a plus 6 hit point armor set. He's got 2 sets of boots that give you a hit point, and you can spend a mental resource to gain the aerial trait, and an arc reactor that readies Iron Man. His last piece of tech armor is the Mach 5 helmet. You exhaust it to remove 1 threat from a scheme or all schemes if you have the aerial trait. So getting those boots out and getting your aerial trait is really good. We need mental resources for that, so those are things to remember. Other interesting stuff is that he just in general has pretty much everything he needs, right? So it's plus 1 hand size per tech armor or upgrade you have in play, and you can get over 6 tech upgrades in play just from his kit. So you don't need to include tech upgrades from any of the aspects, but they're helpful. He's got 5 events in his kit. He's got 3 copies of Repulsor Blast. Deal 1 damage to an enemy, discard the top 5 cards of your deck. For each printed energy resource, yellow, discarded this way, deal an additional 2 damage. That could cap off at, I think right now with the cards that Iron Man can include, you could get plus 12. So you could do a whopping 13 damage for 1 resource, pretty good. Supersonic Punch, and again, energy. So we want mental and energy. Physical, probably don't care about it as much. Supersonic Punch. Deal 4 damage to an enemy, 8 instead if you have aerial. 2 for 8, pretty dang good. All right, he's got War Machine, 4 cost, 4 health, ally with 1 thwart to attack. You can exhaust him and deal 2 damage to him. Arrow, deal 1 damage to each enemy, so pretty good AoE damage, wild resource. And then Pepper Pots and Stark Tower are sort of his ramp cards. You can exhaust Pepper Pots to generate the printed resources from the top card of your discard pile. And Stark Tower will let you return the topmost tech upgrade in a player's discard pile to their hands. That works with Black Widow's tech upgrades, but also with your own. So we're going to go through the different aspects here. First up is leadership. And here I took almost all ability boosting stats. So I think you'll notice all 3 of these cards have the energy resource, so they work really well with Repulsor Blast. What I love about at least these first 2 cards is that when you have Tony's arc reactor out, you're thwarting for 2. You can make that thwarting for 3. You can arc reactor and get double value out of this morale boost. Same thing for lead from the front if you have other allies. What I like about teamwork is when you get those allies out, with Iron Man, you're going to need those allies out a lot, and you don't want them to go away. So you can boost his stats and then untap him. You won't get to use the boosted stats twice. It only adds it for that power use, but still a very useful card with an energy resource that goes well with Iron Man. So leadership, all energy resources. You're going to be able to tell that I like Repulsor Blast a lot. And I think these 2, when you get to use those stats doubly, or if you have enough money for Avengers Assemble, really good buy-in with Iron Man. Next is aggression. So we have Tac Team. Tac Team, pretty generic. 3 damage, deal 2 for each counter. Energy resource, really important for Repulsor Blast. What I like about Tac Team is it's a way you can deal damage when you're in alter ego form. Say you start your turn out, you draw 6 cards, you futurist for 1, and you drew no tech upgrades because you have the worst luck ever, just like me. But maybe you drew some double resources in 2 Tac Teams. You can still get rid of that minion that comes out with Claw, or you can get rid of a minion that comes out with mutagen formula using Tac Team without even going to hero form. So it lets you do some progress while you're in alter ego form, which is going to be a constant thing Tony has to do. Another card that does that, Valkyrie. So again, energy resource. 3 energy resources, 3 life, can do 6 damage or 3 thwart over 3 turns. And when she enters play, you deal 2 damage to a minion. If you paid for this card using an energy resource, 3 damage instead. So most of the time, that's going to let him hit something for 3. Sorry, I'll leave these out here. Last one is Battle Fury. And again, I like this card because Iron Man has lots of attacks, right? So if you use these gauntlets, those count as attacks. So if you kill a minion off with the gauntlet and ready, then you can thwart. Really, really good. You can play it when in alter ego form, so you can play it when you're thinning your deck, looking for all your tech upgrades at the beginning of the game when you haven't been able to flip or suit up and flip to Iron Man yet. All right, next is Justice. I put 4 Justice in there because that's going to be in just about every Justice deck. Triggers off mental resources, which you're going to want to be able to go aerial. Remove 4 threat, really important, because you're going to spend a lot of time at the beginning of the game in alter ego form while you get enough tech upgrades to stay in hero form. The card that I think might replace this is Counterintelligence. A lot of time at the beginning of the game, you're trying to build up to maybe 4 or 5 tech upgrades, but to flip and play this hero action means you're having a real low hand size for a turn. Instead, if you can first turn against Rhino, play a Counterintelligence and 1 tech upgrade, you've pretty much wiped out Rhino's turn, which is amazing. And you can play this in alter ego form, so that is huge for Justice Iron Man. Next up, another card, again, all energy resources, Repulsor Blast all day long. Quake. She is a 2-cost ally, 2 health, 1 thwart, 2 attack. After a minion schemes, exhaust Quake to deal 2 damage to that minion. So say you're playing a minion heavy deck, you gotta stay in alter ego form for a couple turns, you're gonna get a lot of uses out of Quake at the beginning of the game, and at the end of the game, she's a pretty good chump blocker. And finally, Under Surveillance. So these 3 are all expansion cards. Pretty cool. So this is from the Black Widow kits, and this is from the Thor kit. I should go over these others. Valkyrie is from Thor, Battle Fury is from Thor, and Teamwork is from Thor. Everything else is core sets so far. Morale Boost is Marvel. Sorry. But yeah, again, energy resource. Increase that threat threshold so you can stay in alter ego form as long as possible. So when you see me playing Iron Man decks in stream, these are why I include cards like this. That one's not even supposed to be in there. Okay, Protection is next. I have Preemptive Strike, really good card for Iron Man, energy resource. You are gonna take hits, you don't always want to defend. This is a way to reduce how much damage you're taking when people flip big cards. By the end of the game, you're gonna be staying in hero form a lot, so you wanna have cards that can reduce your damage without wasting your activation. Next, Energy Barrier. It's just a no-brainer. You have to include it in Iron Man. It's a tech upgrade, so it triggers for his hand size ability. Using Stark Tower, you can go to alter ego form and keep popping them to the top of your deck. Passive damage reduction for Iron Man, just no-brainer. Always include it in Protection Iron Man. The last one I have is Brother Voodoo. What I really like about Brother Voodoo is, first of all, mental resource. You can use him for aerial if you really need to. He's got some thwarting potential for you if you need to stay in alter ego form to get things set up. But he's going to let you search your deck for these really important events. So you can search up a Repulsor Blast at the right time. And if you happen to have 1 resource left after playing Brother Voodoo, right, you've got maybe a 5-card hand, play Brother Voodoo with 3 resources, you got 1 left, you fish up a Repulsor Blast, bam, that became a really efficient turn. It also, when your deck is almost empty, lets you look at your deck. Say you have 7 cards left in your deck. Well, you can fish through your deck, remove this physical resource, put it into your hand. Now your Repulsor Blast is going to be more efficient. You'll also see what's in your deck. You do have to shuffle the 4 cards you don't choose back into your deck. So it's a little bit of a disadvantage because you're not going to know exactly what's on top, but it still gives you information you didn't have before, and I think that's really, really powerful for Iron Man. All right, I've got a couple basic cards as well. I included a copy of Enhanced Awareness. I think this is a card not a lot of people put in Iron Man, but maybe they should start thinking about it more. A lot of times people put the Enhanced Reflexes because they think lightning bolts, energy, energy, energy. But for these boots, you are going to want to have mental resources. And if you put 25 energy cards in your deck and you're looking at just Iron Man's kit, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mental resources, one of which is the boots itself. So you can cycle the boots, like discard 1 to give yourself aerial, return it with Stark Tower. But if you play Enhanced Reflexes or Enhanced Awareness earlier in the game, that's 3 activations of rocket boots that you don't even have to worry about. Amazing. And Emergency. Again, with Iron Man, you are going to stay in alter ego form a lot. Having Emergency to reduce that threat is really good. At the end of the game, when the villain isn't scheming as much, not a big deal, because still makes your Repulsor Blasts super efficient. So this was my Iron Man primer hero deck. So I used cards through Doctor Strange this time. I think Brother Voodoo was from Doctor Strange. So I'll plan to redo all these heroes again once we complete the hero pack wave that is after the Rise of the Red Skull box. So I've now done all 5 core set heroes. I'm going to go on to the expansion heroes next week, starting with Captain America.